The classrooms, yes. Those classrooms that all costed, I think, 780 something. Some contractors were very brave to take them. I couldn't. So she says that's probably, she's 1 year in construction. What is her financial history? Nothing. I mean, yeah, what's her financial history? She's just got it. So you need to have been there for a while for you to get the jobs. So when you're a newcomer into the industry, then you do have a problem. High interest rates. This year alone, the government has changed, I mean, the banks. I think those of you who have loans, and I know money contractors here will have loans. I think we are on the third. They gave you at 12%, then they've gone to 40 now. Some of them are even giving 18. If you default, they add another 6%. So those rates are absolutely unreasonable. Complex application processes in some projects. The applications are actually very complex, and therefore, no, not the project, the funding. Okay, forget about the PowerPoint. So sometimes the application for the loan, you need to get your mother, your grandfather, and his father. So it actually becomes very inadequate. Inadequate financial literacy on our part. Sometimes we are not literate enough. You go and try to get a job, and by the time you realize what you've actually put yourself into, you really are in trouble. Okay, don't put up your hands, eh? No, I'm not asking whether you've ever used, what are they called, Shylock. Don't put up your hand. But I know, thank you, that answers my question. Many of us have actually used Shylocks. And those Shylocks, you know, it's very easy. You are so desperate. You just need to cross that path for the DG to pay you. You go to a Shylock, and then the DG stays another 3, 4, 5 weeks, sometimes months. You know what happens to those guys. And those guys, they go for the jugular. We have risk perception. For some very strange reason I've never understood. I don't know why banks think women are more risky to give loans. I think we are the only people who actually are not brave enough to go away with people's money. So you have a loan, you may default in paying. That is most likely, almost always not your fault because somebody didn't pay or something happened somewhere. And then the banks have decided that that woman defaulted, that woman defaulted, that woman defaulted. Women are all, will not give women risks. And the same number of men defaulted, but yeah, those ones are fine. Those ones we pay at some point. We also have volatility and uncertainty. Every 5 years, you know what happens to this country. Every 5 years, you've been doing a job, you just finished your job, the last financial year, you're waiting for the coffers to open. You finished your job probably just before July or just before June, before the financial year closes, and then somehow your money is locked in. So you have to wait until, is it September, for them to open, and then the government changes. Your governor changes, the people who are in the, you know, and then you have a whole lot history. I think the thin line between you being paid and you going bankrupt on a project is actually very high, which is very unfortunate. Informality. When you work in the informal sectors, sometimes it's also very tricky how you get around those projects. Sizes of loans. I have somebody I know, you know, when you're in, say, baking or just a continuous project, if you go to the bank and tell them, or just a trader anyway, as we're being told, if you go to the bank and tell them, this is my product, month in, month out, and you say it's probably 5 million or 10 million, they look at that history and give you. When you're in construction, how many jobs do you need to bid for you to be sure of a job? This year, you might have probably, somebody was telling me they had done 22 projects, applications for Kura, before they got in. So for every 10 projects I bid for, I'll probably get 1 or 2 or 3, you know. So you don't have that kind of continuity. You're not, your cash flow is not that constant. It actually depends on the project you get. And then nobody's going to give you money as you look for a job, and once you get a job, to try to apply for that money, then it takes too long. Then even the kind of money, many banks have the women, what is it called, women credit. But if you check almost all those credits, they want to give you 100,000, 200,000, probably $1 million. If you're in construction, if you have a road of 20 million, how much can you do with that? So the sizes of the loan you're given and how it is given is also a problem. Lack of access to markets, of course, that is also another issue. And that one is what we are talking about, getting a job. Allow me to talk about that a little bit, about getting jobs. There are many ways that we can get a job. There's no other than the CS himself tells you that when you start getting big jobs, people start spoiling your name. Is that true? Sometimes what it takes for you to get a job, you've worked so hard, and then you actually bid and get that job. And the lack of goodwill amongst our procurement, the other people, I mean, I'm not saying it happens, but I'm sure it does. It actually discourages you. And once you get that job, you will not even get another one because you're saying, huyo ndio tu anapata kazi. So I think that is also a very big problem. We have regulatory handles, complexes and bureaucracy processes. I think I've talked about them. And then the seasonal nature of construction. Somebody saying construction, actually this was referring to engineers, which is basically when you're doing construction, those are the people we are talking about. When the economy is thriving is when we thrive. When the economy goes down, the first person to be affected, even you when you're building your own house. And then unaona hiyo ofisi imekuja, huyu mwingine amezaliwa, those are the kind of things you suspend. So that seasonal nature of construction also, of course, affects you. Gender bias, I think that one goes without saying. But on that one, I'd like to talk about unequal access to resources for women, unconscious bias. Somebody just looks at you and says, you don't look like an engineer, and you certainly don't look like a contractor. If I gave you that job, you're just going to give it to somebody else, and so they just leave it like that. Negotiation challenges, you want to sit back and actually your negotiation skills. You also don't want to look too needy, so your negotiations will also not be how they should be. There's something also the CS said morning about to give women who are women jobs. I think that is also very important. What happened after 2010 when we got the new constitution? Most companies actually had the wife, most men-owned companies. They had the man and then the wife owning 1%, just so that in paper she's there. They owned 99%. They ran the accounts and everything else. When that constitution came, they took that and they gave the women 51%, nothing else changed. So they ran their accounts, everything they do it themselves, but on paper, the company is 51 owned by the other person. Some companies and some institutions, and I allowed them for that, they actually realized that, and now when you are tendering, what they tell you is that they need the bank account that the woman is a signatory. So if you say you have an equity account, my signature has to appear on that account. At least that helped that. Now, quickly to go to how do we respond to that? I will not talk a lot on this because I hope we have time for this to be a discussion. But number one, institutions and procuring authority. Tafadhalini. When you put 30% gender and you've decided these are the jobs that are being done by women, number one, you're giving them because they're disadvantaged. And then you go ahead and give them the whole 100 kilometers of road. Of course, you're not going to get a woman who's going to be able to do that. You probably could, but that one would be able to also compete on the open tendering. So when they are for gender, when they are the 30%, the AGPO projects, what is that word? Unbundle them so that at least we are able, or the women are able to actually get something. Let's stop pretending that we tendered and nobody took. Let's do that, making sure that they tender. Number two, on the same, I think that was Lucy, Engineer Lucy, who was talking about the requirements. So I'm tendering, you've given me this road, you want the bid bond, you want the performance bond, and of course for me to start working before I get the jobs. Sometimes that is good, but because you're actually doing an affirmative action. For this 30%, can we remove that? As I said that, I am also aware that in some jobs, the women, all you need to show is your AGPO, and then they remove the 2% tendering. But I would like that done to almost all the jobs so that at least we get a chance of tendering. This is the big one. And I am looking at the DGs, I can see them smiling. A lot of times, we don't have the capital. We don't have the seed money. We go to the banks, they want collateral. We go to our chamas, the amount, I think every woman here is a chama, but how much do we changa per month? It's not enough to run a company. Is it possible that once you give the job, can we give a down payment? There are places that is done. Can you give a down payment, but a rider to that, our banks, I bank with Stanbic, I bank with Premier, I bank with that bank, the money that comes to me, you know, I'll take an undertaking that my money can only go to that bank. And that way, you will actually be getting the retention of that money. Because you know you're the one who's going to pay me. Unless, of course, you don't trust that I'm going to work. But if you've given me that job, you are convinced that I'm going to do that job. So when I get that job from you, can we get 15%, 30, maybe 30 is too much to ask, but why not? Deposit so that at least you give me the first, you know, that charge, the kickstart. I know that somebody did for me that a certain company, and they gave me the first job, we finished the second one, we finished the third one, they told me now I had grown up. I had grown up, so of course I couldn't complain. Can we at least try and do that? The other one, Zenith. Where's the guy? For the suppliers. And as I said when I talk about women in construction, I'm just not talking about the contractors. Even the suppliers, can you give us credit? I know where I am right now is because I get credit from a few people, and I'll call the person who supplies for me still. Apex, if you're listening, thank you very much. They will give me, and they'll give me, I'll tell them I have this project, and it's worth this much, I need this much still. They'll give me 2 months, with a lot of noise, of course, but they'll give me 2 months. And once they give me 2 months, at least that will give my person, the procuring authority, time to pay me, and then I'll pay them, and I have not defaulted. So if, for the suppliers, can you give just that concession to women, so that at least we get somewhere? The other one was inclusive policies. As I said, we have the 30% constitution. Don't give us 35. We'll fight for the other, whatever. Just give us the 30. And in your place, I said in the morning, don't tell us that you've employed, because this goes across the whole thing. It's an employment, it's in work, it's everything else. Don't tell us that you actually have 30% women in your organization. And who are those women? It is a total pyramid. By the time we get down, we are very fat down here. Hapa juu hakuna mtu. Even in construction, even in works, give us work that is actually technical, so that by the end of it, even in all sectors, if it's construction, if it's consultants, give us that as women. Thank you. I'm almost concluding, and this education, training. I know I used to be a director in NCA, and we tried training women. And I remember when I went there, one of the things that I used to hear is that women, we don't cut, you know, when you are bidding. So we are all thrown out because we don't meet the minimum requirements. It's true we don't. It is because we are disadvantaged. And that's why you're giving us 30%. Trainers, call us for training, call us for whatever it takes. If you put a women only bid and nobody responds, or it's actually not responsive, call all those women, re-educate them, rebid. Don't start saying that now you not give them, now you give it to the men because the women are not, they're not able. That's why that's why you're giving them 30%, not 40%, because you also don't think we are equal to you. Ownership, as I said before, please give to women-owned project for women. Thank you. Now, for women, you know, it is not enough for me to sit here and lament that we are not getting work if you are not doing what it is we are supposed to do. For ourselves, number one, if we don't meet the threshold of what we've been offered, can we partner? Can you look for Jen here in her smaller farm and then Lucy here with her EcoCycle, and the next person with their company, we come together so that we actually make a reasonable offer to the entities. I think it's also not fair for us to sit there and start telling them that you're not giving us work and you're not looking for the work, or the kind of work we are looking for, it also doesn't make sense. So if you don't think you're big enough, try and look for another partner and look and get the work. Number one. Number two, can we please perform? I think it's Engineer Kagondu here who was saying, can we please perform? You know, I wish I could say that saying in Kikuyu, but it's a bit rude, eh? But they're saying when one person messes somewhere, all of us have. The one woman who didn't perform has actually probably messed for the rest of us. You understand what I mean? So when you're given, your responsibility is a lot more than of your counterpart man. If 5 of us don't perform, and 10 men don't perform, or 15 men don't perform, they will only see we are harder together. I hope I'm making a point. So that even as we are asking them to support us, we are supporting ourselves. And also, when we have been given money, of course we shall pay. I don't think I need to say that. Sometimes it's with a lot of struggle, and many times the struggle is not because of our own making, but at least let's do that. KRA, I can see you're here. I don't know, I think it's also Lucy who said you, be easy on us, Bwana. You know, we don't refuse to pay. I always insist that women don't refuse to pay. I guess contractors then we don't refuse to pay. But sometimes your punishment is not really, is a lot more than the crime that you have committed. So be easy on us when somebody allow us to work, and when we work, we shall pay. Thank you very much. God bless.
Let's give her another round of applause, please. Thank you so much, Engineer Cheri Mutulile. Thank you for that powerful presentation. This presentation now forms part of what we are going to discuss in our next session. And at this point, allow me please to invite the panelists to come in front. Can we have Engineer Joseph Alot from Raseka? Let's appreciate him as he comes. Let me also welcome Sue Helen Mumbi from Waya. Helen? Oh yes, thank you so much as you come. Let's also welcome Ms. Yvonne Cones, Director for Shovel and Travel Limited. Let's welcome her. And also Engineer Grace Kagondu from IK. I don't know, Grace, whether you... Okay, welcome. Last but not least, we also have a representative from Kenya Road Board. I don't know whether you are here. Maybe Julia, representative from Kenya Road Board. Okay, thank you. So these are our panelists who are going to take us through the next session. Allow me at this point to welcome our discussant who is going to lead this panelist discussion. That is Favor Wanja, a representative from KRA. Let's appreciate her. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to welcome Favor to proceed from there.
Good afternoon. I am well known by the names Wanja Wangondo, and I am the Chief Manager. I'm the Chief Manager Taxpayer Services, so I come in the shoe of ensuring you are taken care of, so do not fear. Thank you. Okay, I am here with my panelists, and in 1 minute, I would like to introduce yourself and tell us what do you do. 1 minute.
I spoke earlier in the morning, but I can do it again. My name is Engineer Grace Muthoni Kagondu. I am currently First Vice President at the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and I'm also serving as the Chairperson of Capacity Building and Leadership Development at IEK. And on a day-to-day, I work in Central Bank of Kenya. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon to everybody. My name is Joseph Alot. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession. I'm the current CEO of RASECA, which is the Roads and Civil Engineering Contractors Association. And I'm been an NCA, which is the National Construction Authority trainer for the past 3 years. And I'd like to say that even through my training, when I usually attend the training that they actually offer for the contractors, I've never seen so many ladies actually in attendance. But I'm actually encouraged today to actually see all the ladies today, and hopefully be able to interact with a lot of the road contractors today and see if you'll be able to join RASECA. And as a CEO of RASECA, I also advocate for the local construction industry, and advocate also for the engineering community as well, because I'm a member of the EBK, Engineers Board of Kenya, and also of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. And also today, I think I should add one as also an advocate for the women in construction. Thank you.
I will say 2 more things. I said my name is Engineer Jane Mutulili. I am also the Managing Director of LaFemme Engineering Services. We are both consultants and contractors, and of course project managers. I am the Honorary Secretary of the Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. Why I've said I'll say something else is because October 16th to October 18th, we are having our ASEC, Association Consulting Engineers of Kenya, our conference in Eldoret, and the title of that conference, or the theme of that conference, is Engineering Food Security. Karibuni sana. It's for everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Yvonne Conez. I'm the director and founder of Shovels and Trolls Limited. It's a construction company founded in 2009, so I've been in the business for the last 13 years. I'm an economist by training, but in a totally different field. Shovels and Trolls is a member of RASECA, even though that's a bone to pick later. But yes, we've been in the industry for a while, and yeah, so that's really who we are.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sue Ellen Mumbi. I am the research and advocacy lead at WIRE. So WIRE is Women in Real Estate. We are a society whose membership is all women in the built environment, lawyers, architects, quantity surveyors, students, all the way from students to corporate members. So I just want to briefly draw your attention to some statistics from a survey we did earlier this year on the state of women representation in the built environment. So as you can see here in this chart, leadership in boards within our associations, our professional associations, women are very low rates of leadership. The orange bar is the ladies in leadership. So for every association that is represented here, what percentage of your leadership is female? What are you doing to empower women? So we advocate for women in the built environment, and we are in partnership with all professional associations, or well, most of the professional associations within the built environment, to advocate for women, to ensure that we have a voice. You see, like the Women in Construction Forum, that is what we do on a day-to-day basis. What are the challenges you're facing? Are you facing sexual harassment at work? How do you cope with that? PPE for women is you know, something that is very new to people. So what are we doing about this on site? We are the people that champion for these things, and I highly advocate for every lady here that is not a member of WIRE, just join it. It's a game changer. You get to interact with so many professionals. There's mentorship there. You get to also highlight your business, grow your business. There's networking events where you can grow your business as well. So just take the time to join WIRE. It'll be a game changer for you and your business.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. As you're holding the mic, just give us about 2 financing options that are available for women entrepreneurs. 2 financing options that you know of available for the women?
Oh yeah,
in this case?
absolutely. We can take loans from banks, from financial institutions, as well as organizing different lines of credit. So from your financial institution, you can so basically a line of credit is a set amount that you can borrow over and over. As long as you have not exceeded the limit, you can keep borrowing, repaying. So for those we have who have a weak financial backbone as you're growing, establishing a line of credit with your financial provider would be a good solution.
Thank you. Give the mic to Yvonne. Now, Yvonne, to you. Again, we want to look at these financing options. Give us some more options that are available so that women here get to understand more about that. And in addition to that, are these options different from those available to our male counterparts?
Thank you for the question, but from my experience, I don't think in this industry there's anything that is tailor-made for women. Most of the banks that I've approached as a person or as a company, there is nothing that is specific for women, because if there are things that are specific for women, then they should reflect the fact that women are less risky individuals, and therefore less risk relates to lower interest rates. But if you're going to give me the same interest rate as a man, that means you have not considered my gender as a less risky individual. So far I've not encountered banks that take us, consider us as women and as less risky individuals. They still give us high interest rates. They even question if you really are the owner of this company, and therefore actually sometimes tell you, could you please bring the real owners, because then if you default, we know who to go for. So you've got the documents, but they still question if you really are the owner. So I think the banks need to step up. As Engineer Jane had said before, the loans that are available are for the Mambambogas, which I'm sure they're very good, they're the 100,000s, but if you want to grow your business and do the hundreds of millions of jobs or the billions of millions of jobs, there's nothing out there for you as a woman. So I think the banks need to be challenged. If there's a way the government can meet the banks midway and maybe, I don't know, give them some incentives to promote women businesses, then they should step up and do that.
Thank you for that. Now, Engineer Joseph, do you agree to that?
Yes, I will not go against what she said. What she's saying is actually what she's experienced, and actually that is true. There are not very many options that are different for men that are for women. But from what I've encountered, where I sit as a CEO, I've been approached by several associations and organizations, such as World Bank and IFC, and they are very keen on actually being able to support and actually build women contractors, engineers as well. What I've actually, also in my capacity, I sit as an industry advisory member for Kenya Institute of Highway and Building Technology. And what I'm able to advise students when I'm able to meet them is actually form companies, form the lady contractors to form companies and just to be employers as well. And what this does is that it gives them an opportunity to actually be able to access this finances that they may come from these organizations that have will support the women contractors. What we actually saw this morning from the CS was that there's going to be an active initiative by the government to actually support women contractors. And if they're actually able to actually get these companies from the beginning stages, from actually after graduation, they're actually able to tap into this, gain experience, and be able to grow in the industry. And as RASECA, we have a lot of our NCA1 contractors, and NCA1 contractors are the ones who actually are able to do a lot of the big projects. What we're able to do is actually able to support the youth and actually women contractors, and by that we're actually able to give them, like I say, an opportunity to actually, part of the construction is equipment, being able to get equipment at an affordable rate, and also be able to form joint ventures. We do networking, and members who are able to join us are able to actually interact with other associations and people who are actually big in the industry. So we do, as a RASECA, we actually try and support the women and youth in that aspect. So those are ways in actually financing can be tapped, additional methods. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Engineer Jane talked about the current tax structure having a great impact on women. And maybe when we are talking about the current tax structure, what are we talking about? When you are in the construction industry, the taxes that applies to you, the first one is income tax, and we have value-added tax. So those are the two main taxes in this sector. Now, you realize that as you are doing your work, you will be deducted withholding income tax and withholding value-added tax. But when you come to file your returns, whatever had been deducted in advance, you get an opportunity to claim that, because the withholding taxes are not final taxes for residents in Kenya. So your main taxes are income tax and pay as you earn. And where you have employees and the employees are earning 24,000 Kenya shillings or more, then pay as you earn comes in. So that is the current tax structure. And now, Engineer Grace, what are the specific challenges that the persons in this sector, the construction sector, are facing in relation to taxation?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wanja, from KRA. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank KRA, through you, for the many training and capacity building you have done for our members in this area of taxation. We have had sessions where you have come on board and engaged with our members, and really I hope we can continue doing that, because sometimes you find people make errors, as what Engineer Jane mentioned, Lily. Sometimes it's ignorance, sometimes it is just some little bit of misunderstanding or misinterpretation. And so when you come and talk to us and explain a few things, it really makes a difference. So I want to appreciate that. Now, to the question about what women, the challenges that women are facing in the construction sector, I think one of them is lack of awareness of opportunities and where to get financing, for example. The other thing, of course, is, well, there's been a little bit of, what can I say, the cost of funds also sometimes fluctuates, you understand? Yeah. So what that means is that what you borrow today and what you borrow next week, if the bank is not able to maintain the same interest rate, it means sometimes it's not easy to plan your finances. So I think one of the best ways to counter that is always to have that awareness and capacity building. As a matter of fact, even as IEK, we are running a program, what you're calling financial acumen and wealth creation for engineers. It's gonna be later in the month of August. So again, I think we want to open it up to all the women in construction. Also listen in and learn, because financial acumen, I think it's a skill that all of us need. And I would encourage you to join that particular one. Perhaps what I can also add is the space of green finance. A lot of banks are now, you find that they are now more open, amenable to lending to projects that are towards renewable energies, combating climate change, negative impacts of climate change. So you find that if you have a project in that space, they have got a higher probability of getting funding from the commercial banks. Yeah, so I think awareness. Thank you.
Thank you. Engineer Joseph, have you had any specific challenge concerning tax in your operations?
The easy answer is no. No challenges with taxes, but as also engineer said, we actually want to commend you on a lot of the trainings that actually been coming from KRA. We'd actually been able to actually see them as they come, because we've been emailed a lot of the trainings that have been happening and all of the online training that is being there. So we've been able to keep abreast as to what is required of us as an association, and also our members, if anything that applies to them as far as making payee payments and all the payments that they require, we've been able to now share it with them. And we have a reach as far as an association, and we're able now to share all correspondence that we get from KRA. And as of right now, we've been able to comply with that, and I think no issues with that. Thank you.
And finally, to Engineer Jane, You said, yes, there are some challenges that you have encountered with the taxman. And you said that the taxman needs to be, yes, now tell us, what did you mean? What
Okay.
should the taxman do?
First of all, I want to just mention something she said about the financing. You know, she put it very well. If you thought we are less risky, then you'd lower our what interest rates. I know somebody, my sister actually, they were given, wherever she is, a financier or a funder, funding women. You know, somebody who actually wants to fund women. So they're told 20% will give you, say, 100,000. Out of that 100,000, how much collateral do you have for that? So you say you have probably for 20,000. That 20,000 will be given to you at 2%. The other that is not doesn't have collateral, they'll give you at 5%. You see, that is actually somebody who's going out of their way to help you. Here, somebody is saying they want to give you this money, and they're giving you at the same, they want the collateral, number one, and they're giving you at the same interest rate. I mean, there's no difference between you and the next guy. So that's what I'm saying, just to answer the question, your Duster. You ask what problem I've had with the taxman.
It may not be specifically you.
No,
but
I
the
want to
sector.
talk about my specific case and why I'm passionate about it. I started the construction 2005. Actually, I just switched on to consultants later, but I was fully in construction. Unfortunately, and I'm saying this because many of us are at that point, is when you start, you are not fully aware. And you can remember 2005. I mean, I think we didn't know so much. So 2005, at the end of the year, you make your returns, but you are not even, you don't even go through your audited account. Somebody does them for you and messes up and all that. 2005, it went, and then at some point, I think that was 2016, so many years down the line, the taxman goes to 2005 and starts telling me that the taxes that I didn't pay 2005, and they went on 2005, 2006, so you didn't pay this tax 2005 to 2016, 05, 06, 07, I think probably from 2008 is when I styled up. But those ones have their interest. And I'm saying that because I'm appealing to us women now. I think the KRA has really, should I use the word, styled up. And it will, the reason why we pay the 2% is so that they can know the project you have. Please be careful with your taxes right now so that at least you know, at least declare. You can discuss with them, I hope they'll listen, that this is what I'm supposed to pay. But at least discuss with them, because that you don't pay, KRA will always catch up with you. And that's what I was saying, I was caught up with. And yeah, we sorted it up to a certain level. I don't think I'm even fully cleared with them. But that's what I'm saying, just to the other women who, I don't want you to be in my shoes, those things that you've kept na huku nyuma zitoe. I'm actually the one who reported myself to KRA and decided I actually want, now I don't want to be going through this every time I want a tax compliance. So every time I go to tax compliance, it's a whole story. So I just want to be sorted out what is the problem. I should have just kept quiet. Thank you.
Thank you for being vulnerable with your experience. Now, going to Yvonne, have you benefited from any government incentives or programs that have been aimed at promoting gender diversity and equity in the construction sector through taxation and financing?
Not that I can remember.
Yes.
There's nothing very apparent that incentives that have been given tax-wise that are female targeted. So I can't mention one from the top of my head. But government incentives that have been of help for women contractors, for sure, ACPO has been instrumental in when you go out to bid and you know you're bidding for a woman project, you feel that much more encouraged to bid because you know that you're only fighting it out with women. and whichever way it goes, it will be awarded to a woman. So I think you really put your best foot forward, knowing that, look, I might get this job, and if the worst comes to the worst and I don't get it, it will be another woman. So I think that's encouraging, and it keeps us bidding. But I also want to encourage the many women contractors here not to just refrain themselves to women-only contracts, to try and go out and bid for the general. Because when they say general, I don't know if general means excluding women, because general then means women and men. So I think we should also, bid for the general projects. And just, honestly, if you do your paperwork right, and a man does his paperwork the best he can, I'm convinced the woman paperwork will be better than the man one. So look, let's just go out, let's bid for the men projects. Let's not be scared of the value of the projects. I'm sure when we see so many zeros behind the one or behind the two, we are scared to bid because we are women, we're just scared of big things. But I think if the government says what it says, that it will always back us up, it will meet us midway, let's not be scared to go for those big projects. So I think the government has given their commitment, and I also believe that KRA, you'll also do your best to come and meet us, to come and train us. You'll do the virtual trainings, but sometimes we'd like the real contact trainings. Reach out to us in our offices, call us to your offices. When we default, peleka sisi pole pole, don't be too harsh, because we'll always listen and we'll always cooperate as women. So yes, I think that's a matter that I could encourage KRA.
Okay, Sue. Any government incentive or programs that you have benefited from or that you know of?
Yes, I would just highlight AGPO because as young people, as women, we are always trying to, just have a better quality of life than we have right now. So having that opportunity to apply for tenders through AGPO definitely has helped women I know and young people as well to, put their best foot forward, have a better life than they had initially.
Okay, and to Engineer Grace, do you know of any that the ladies have not talked about? Yes.
Specific financial incentives, maybe I cannot pinpoint any, but I can talk about this affirmative action that the government is taking. I'm looking at programs like what they want to run. The AGPO, she has talked about it, but even the programs that are coming up now, the affordable housing and the many other projects, the 1,000 dams or the 100 dams that we talked about, those are, to me, opportunities for women to take advantage of. And what I would encourage us is we get familiar with the direction of this particular administration, the area that they want to focus on, and we become ourselves very aware of what is required in that space, technically and also financially, so that we can reposition ourselves to take advantage of those opportunities. I think that's what I can say. And as from IEK where I sit, we are really going to be exploring those opportunities, and we are ready to partner and also to do the capacity building to prepare the women engineers, and also we'll extend that invitation to the women in construction so that we can move together. As you have had collaboration and that working together, partnership is what is going to take us places, including the consulting engineers, the professional engineers, and we carry even the graduate engineers with us, because when consulting engineers get an opportunity in this program they're talking about, they will employ the PEs, they will call the graduate engineers as interns, and the whole ecosystems will benefit a lot. And also the transfer of knowledge will also take place in that space. Thank you.
Thank you. There is an incentive that I want to add on, investment deductions. And also, the investment deductions are actually quite heavy in your sector. And maybe what I would say is this platform doesn't give us the opportunity to go through all of them. And so, would you be there and you'd be interested to know more about that? See Claire, lift up your hand where you are. See my colleague Claire there. And we even offer individualized training. If you want to, we said your staff or two to come train your staff on an area, we will actually do that. So feel free to reach out to Claire or myself after this if you need that. Okay, we are moving on. And Engineer Jane, what strategies can women-owned construction businesses employ to optimize their tax planning and take advantage of available deductions or credit? Any other except the training that we have talked about?
Yes, there's an adage I have never known. You don't evade tax, but avoid tax. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
Yes, so that also goes with training. Find out what it is, what tax you don't need to pay. I don't know how to do that, and I don't know whether I've even applied it to myself, but I know that if you're not careful, you'll pay a lot of unnecessary tax, a lot of unnecessary tax. So find out what it is you can avoid. Don't evade, I repeat, but avoid what you don't have to pay. And also, I think just keep your books. Keep your books, because I still struggle, I mean, so many years down the line, when at the end of the year, when the auditor comes in and you're trying to put all your ledgers, all your papers, everything together, get somebody. I think what I would want to tell us is also, let us get qualified people. Construction is not for engineers, as we've been told many times. It's not just for engineers. But even if you're not an engineer, get somebody qualified to do your technical work. On the same note, you are a contractor. You're not an expert in tax. You're not an expert in accounts. Get somebody qualified to do your books, because if your books are not done properly, therein lies the first problem. And of course, all our losses, I think, come from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I want to go to Engineer Joseph. Are there any innovative financial models or approaches that are being explored to address the unique needs and opportunities for women entrepreneurs in construction?
Yes, I believe so. Like I'd mentioned before, we have worked with the World Bank, and we've tried to formulate ways and actually how we can actually empower women in the construction industry. So the models that we actually have is like maybe having a pool where we can actually have maybe some money set aside just for the women contractors on the World Bank developed projects. So that is something that we're trying to look into, and those are the things that are actually in a conversation stage still. One other solution that actually can actually help the whole construction industry, because a lot of male counterparts also affected by this, having accessible financing options, having a construction bank is something that maybe that the government can actually look into. We can actually have our contractors actually be able to pull in to a particular bank, a construction bank, and we can actually be able to get affordable loans in that kind of manner. So innovative solutions actually are there, and it's just that we need like some, let's say, political backing and also goodwill from the industry to actually be able to support this initiative, to actually be able to get affordable financing options for both, for everybody in the construction industry. Thank you.
Thank you. On the same question, I would like Yvonne and Sue to give us their experiences about, are there any innovative financial models or approaches being explored to address the unique needs and opportunities for women entrepreneurs in construction? Any innovative financial models? Yes.
To be honest, I don't think they are, unless they are in the pipeline. But I don't think they are. But as I just want to emphasize what Joseph said, that probably if we are able to get into something like RASECA, for example, and then we have a bigger bargaining power when we go to banks, maybe they can negotiate on behalf of the contractors, saying that, look, if you give us better rates, or if you do this better for us, if we have to deposit less for our performance bonds or for advance payment guarantees, then we will bank with you as a group. Maybe that might have some leverage on getting better facilities. But RASECA, which is the biggest, or I don't know, the biggest financially or the biggest in numbers, have really left the women out. I think it's important that I point it out here, Joseph, and so you can take the message home to the other members. I've been a member, my company has been a member of RASECA since 2017. We've hardly been invited for the meetings. We just get mailings of what has been discussed, or just get emails of your renewal fee, but we are not invited there's no woman in the executive committee of RASECA. It's a big shame. I think you need to do something about it. Start with one, and then keep on increasing. We're not saying give us the 30 overnight, but we are ready to step up to the 30 if you give us the chance to. So I would also like to encourage many of the women here, let's join those institutions. I mean, they might be expensive. Maybe even you can consider lowering the fee for women contractors. It doesn't have to be the same as the male contractors. Because we need that backing, we need that cushioning when we get bashed. I mean, of course, sometimes we are scared of what the media backlash when we get contracts or what people would say. But if we know we have bodies like RASECA behind us, then we are brave because we know we will come and protect us. You'll come and say, look, we know this contractor, they can perform. So we really need to be part of these bodies that can really speak up for us when our voice is almost swallowed in the noise of the media and the noise of many other players who don't understand the industry.
So,
Yes, thank you, Ms. Gomez. Sorry about that. That was an oversight on our part, and I definitely have to apologize for that. It will be rectified, and I will definitely have you. And there's no, as RASECA, we do not discriminate against anybody to join. Gender, ethnicity, anybody can join us. And sorry about that if you felt that we overlooked you, but no, we are open to everybody, all female contractors. Thank you.
Opportunity to floss a little bit about the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. As the council, we are actually more than 50% of the council members are women. We have 5 women, and yeah, our ratio is pretty good, almost 50-50. So I think we are doing well. The issue now is the membership of engineers in the population. That's now where the big effort is, but I'm sure we shall get there. Thank you. Yes.
I'm very happy to hear that. I mean, I already know that. But this has happened over, I think, 2015. It was just me and Rosemary. You know, this build up to the 50%, it's actually come in the last, probably in the last 10, not even, maybe less than 10 years actually. So it is not, when you say that you've actually not realized, I know you don't, you actually don't, they're not on the table, you don't see them, and therefore you don't think about them. And for everybody, you need to speak out for yourself. So because if, I know, in fact the women chapter was launched 2014 of IK. And since that time is when even the membership of IK has come up since that time. So that affirmative action actually needs to be taken, and thanks for speaking up, because now they're also just as surprised as you are.
Any innovative financial models or approaches that are being explored to address the unique needs and opportunities for women entrepreneurs?
I think that's a good question. And off the top of my head, there's the affordable housing project that is currently in the works. So we as WIRE signed an MOU with the State Department of Housing and Urban Development, as well as with NCA and the developer, Gulf Cup, I believe, to have 50% of the women, of the people that are going to be working on that project be women. So that can be artisans, it can be plumbers, people doing the fitting, all the aspects of construction. 50% of them are going to be women. So I don't know if that addresses that issue, but I think that's quite innovative to just put more women out there.
Wow. That's so nice. I like that. And finally, we want to look into, are there any policy recommendations or changes that could help level the playing field to promote gender equity in taxation and financial aspects in this sector? Maybe each one of us can answer that now. We can start with Sue. Any policy recommendations or changes that you would want to bring forward on matters, taxation and financing aspects in this sector?
I think maybe just to be an advocate for the younger people that are starting out and have not grown that financial muscle to to the capacity of others. Maybe just having tax breaks or reduced taxation for a certain amount of time or until their turnovers get to a set limit. I think that would be more favorable for them.
Thank you, noted.
Maybe some ideas, maybe to bring women back to work, like they do in other countries where mothers returning from maternity have tax reliefs. When you come back, maybe you can only work half days, and when you work those half days, your tax bracket is lower, or even if you come in as a full-time, your tax bracket is lower than a man who works full-time. It encourages many working mothers to come back to work, because if I have to leave my family or my young child to come back to work and be taxed equivalent to a man who's not foregoing anything else, then I'd rather stay at home and take care of my child. But if I come to work, and I'm sure at the end of the month, I'll have a tax rebate, I'll pay less tax than the man, I'll have the incentive to come back to work. And we need young mothers coming back to work because they need to grow in their career ladder. You stay out of work for a year or two, you come and find your male counterpart much more promoted than you are. And so it's important that we encourage mothers to come back to work as soon as possible. And just to reiterate, being mothers and working, it's part of life. It's so important. In my 10 years in this industry, I've had my babies here, you know, gone to site pregnant and come back and worked again. So there's no shame in continuing with your career, being a young woman and having your children as you grow in your career.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We were talking today about having mother's room. I know many of you are wondering how do you start coming with a child to work, and I mean the logistics of it. Sometimes that's not what it takes. We have, and I know because I've had young mothers in my organization, and what they want is, number one, a fridge, number two, a private room where they can express. Because what happens when you can't go home during the day, then, I mean, anyway, you know what I mean. So for those of us who are in organizations, afford them that. The private room where somebody can go and express their milk, and then a fridge where they can keep the milk and they carry it home. It's actually that simple. Then because you need to breastfeed your child up to 6 months, how do you do that? I mean, exclusive feeding baby with the whatever. Number two, that is, I mean, for women at work, as I said, get an innovative way of funding women before they start their work. I don't know how that will be done. That might be a policy, but I think if that is done, that will really help. Number three, payment to contractors, not just women, to contractors. Engineer Ogai here said that 49% of households in Kenya are women-led. She didn't give us the statistics for men-led households, but I'm sure they are not half that, because men tend to move on much faster than women would. And therefore, I would imagine that 49% of women in construction are part of that 49. I mean, the women construction, maybe that would be the same. When you don't pay that woman, who's actually the single, you know, she's a breadwinner. It's a household led by a woman, and you don't pay her, what happens to her? So I think the payment from procuring authorities, please just ensure that contractors are paid on time, women are paid on time for life to go on. You affect people so badly when you don't pay them. I wish somebody could actually appreciate how much people suffer on that account. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, as a CEO of RASECA, I've definitely seen various challenges, but there are definitely opportunities for improvement. For instance, let's say pre-qualification of tenders. I think there needs to be some improvement on that. For some tenders, you may find that, just as an example, it may require maybe a 25-kilometer road, but you have to prove that you've done maybe 100 kilometers. So those are ways of actually being able to automatically disqualify people from tendering, and mostly disadvantages the women contractors. So maybe an adjustment or evaluation of the pre-qualification criteria that doesn't just automatically disqualify people who are actually capable. Because if you can actually build a 25-kilometer road, you can actually be able to do even a 50 or 100, depending on if the payments are coming in on time. And what I mentioned before, also access to affordable financing. Things like a construction bank. That is something that actually can be implemented and should be implemented to actually be able to alleviate the financial burden that contractors are facing. And what also Engineer Mutilili had mentioned, non-payment and also delayed payments, that is actually the detriment to the local construction industry and also anybody in the construction industry. Late payments are the ones that actually are killing the industry. So if we're able to actually have prompt payments for this, that can actually be able to also support the local contractors. Political support, which we have seen today, the CS and the PS had spoken, and those kind of initiatives, not just words, but actually the action behind that is actually important. And being able to actually attend this first Women in Construction Industry, Women in Construction Forum, I'm actually proud to be here, and I'll be able to now go back and actually advocate for the women contractors, and also as engineer, Mr. Kones had mentioned, not overlook the women contractors, actually be able to support them. And I think that maybe just in corruption, maybe stiffer penalties on corruption, being able to support, like what had been mentioned before, if it's a contractors, it's a woman contractor, let it be a woman contractor that has been awarded, not just somebody who has just been put there just to actually be a director. So we need to be able to vet and make sure the contractors are actually capable of actually doing this work, not just giving it on the basis of just a woman has actually been put in that position. So we need to eliminate that kind of corruption. And then also, Kenya, we have various laws, the constitution, procurement laws, and also the construction laws, national construction laws. We need to have enforcement of this, like the AGPO, if it's 30%, let it 30% go to the actual person. If it's 30% subcontracting, let's have that enforced, not just on paper, but also in action. If somebody contracted 30% for the women contractors, this is actually something that actually upskills them. What actually could be a detriment to a lot of the women contractors growing is the lack of, let's say, capacity. And this lack of capacity comes from when they're given, a job is given to the wrong person. So the right person with the right company ends up not having the job. So what happens with that? They don't upskill, so they end up, it becomes a perpetual cycle of not being qualified. So if we're able to enforce the procurement and the laws to actually make sure that the right procedures are being done, this can actually go a long way in actually supporting the women contractors. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want to take the question in the context of what Ms. June Chepkemei was speaking about this morning. She was talking about manufacturing, and she was challenging us. Why are we not going into manufacturing? Because that will be the game changer, or one of the game changers for creating employment, for the country becoming wealthier, because they're spending too much of our foreign exchange importing every little thing in the construction sector. So I think, to me, I would suggest that we look at the policies that can promote local manufacturing. So if you talk about, let's start even with the simple things like the clothes that we wear. I know I'm wearing an imported outfit for today, but I was very much challenged that there's a time the government had said on Fridays, we wear our homegrown fabrics, our local fabrics. So I know we need to start thinking made in Kenya, built in Kenya, and start localizing our needs to suit what is available in the market. And I think we will go along with that way, and the government can also put in place incentives, even if it's in the tax incentives and so on, to promote that. I got concerned, and I was sharing with the DG, Kenhai, over lunch hour. I was being told about a couple of companies which are relocating to our neighbors. They're not manufacturing anymore. They're downsizing, and they are moving to other countries. And I was a little bit like, what exactly is happening? I don't know, but whatever it is, I think the policymakers, we need to study the underlying factors and see how to address. Perhaps I'm not competent to speak in that space, but it gave me food for thought. and perhaps I can also share it here. But for me, capacity building is my strength, and I hope that from IEK we can continue delivering.
Please, any concern that you may be having, we can pick 2 or 3 questions. 2 or 3 questions. 1, let me have somebody to take the mic for us there, please. Who else has a question? We have 1 question. 2, the 3rd one. Upstairs, do we have any questions? Okay, the 3rd one here. Now, if you're seated on the 1st floor and you also have a tax concern, we will wait until the forum is over. I also have a colleague, Shalon Chepkoesh. She is seated on 1st floor. Shalon, you may start so that people may see you. If you have a concern matters tax, you may kindly see her if you're seated on 1st floor. So here we are. Who has come to assist me taking the mic? Okay, we can start with, yes, this side? Yes, the lady on this side. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Agnes Wangoi. I'm in construction business. I'm privileged to be among great men and women in business. As a PWD, I'm also in construction business. I'm glad for this forum. I've come and I've learned a lot. My concern is, where is the conversation and discussion of PWD in this sector of business? Because even if it is a women forum, there are also persons with disability in construction business who are also women. And also my other concern is, what are the programs that are there to empower the group in our sector? Because there is Light of the World, there is GIZ programs that was there a few months ago, but we need more programs to empower the group in PWD concerning construction, because there is a bias or a stigma like this business is only for capable or big people with big muscles in this sector. But I believe that with right guidance and mentorship, and we hold their hands, they can also be bigger contractors, PWD, in this sector. And also for KRA, I'd like to know, for persons with disability with exemption certificate, when it comes to withholding income tax, for example, for carer, what is the way forward when one wants to ask for a claim or a refund? Because that is another area that we have not been able to get information or be assisted in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Now, the other 2 questions are here. QS Susan, the other 2 questions are here. Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Naomi. I'm one of the women contractor. I have a few comments and a few questions. One is for PPRA. I don't know whether we have that. It's Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. Before, when we started, I think 2015, 2014, we didn't have a lot of requirement for new contractors. Now they have put financial statements, experience, and all that. So the new contractors are not able to get projects because they have to give previous experience and financial statement. Another thing for PPRA, they need to reconsider the current law of lowest bidder. Some contracts that bid below market value and still end up getting the contract, hence compromising the quality or even having the contract cancelled for non-performance. So they need to reconsider that law. Secondly, the current rates being used by engineers' estimate need to be updated to reflect the current market value, because you go bid for a project that has engineers' estimate and you find that you are going over the engineers' estimates. So they need to reflect the current market value. Another thing, due to the devaluation of Kenyan shillings, our request, not only for women contractors, but all contractors, we need to have a VOP included or incorporated in all tenders, so that when we have these fluctuations, we have a variation of prices. Another one is GOK needs to intentionally grow local contractors, especially women, by giving them some incentives given to foreigners. And I think this one, I'll pose it to KRA. I know that the Chinese, I'm not just speaking Chinese, but foreigners are given tax waivers, duty-free imports, and when you bid with them, they have an upper hand. A couple of years ago, I was subcontracted by a Chinese contractor, and they refused to pay me tax, VAT and taxes, and they gave me an exempt letter, and yet I'm supposed to pay VAT and taxes. Another thing I would request the agencies, because they are here, is fuel levy projects to be given only to the local contractors. 2 years ago, GOK bundled many small roads in informal settlements and gave them to a Chinese contractor. About 400 kilometers, and they gave it to a contractor. And the same Chinese contracted us, the local contractors, for peanuts to do the work that could have been divided up to a local contractors by GOK. And actually, they wait until they are paid and then they pay you. So you see, they are benefiting and we are doing the work. And yet, it can be divided into sections where local contractors can do. The last part is the cost of maintenance of our road. I think I wanted to share on the contractors bidding so low. I'll urge contractors, especially as women, we are competing, yes, in small market, but we need to bid well so that can reflect the market value. If you allow me, please, I'll share about the financial. I was looking for this opportunity to share a little bit. Ms. Kones talked about banks, going to the banks to get a loan as a woman. It has been very difficult, especially for people who have, I'm the sole director of my company, and when I go there, they ask me for marriage certificate, and we had misplaced it. I was told to go marry my husband again so that I can get finance from the banks, and I wish they're here and they can share that. Again, I was given life insurance to cover myself so that when I die, they still can be paid. And if it was a man, I'm sure they wouldn't have gone to that level. And I would talk about the PBC. I know the PS is not here, but when I started construction, I started with PBC on Thika Road. And when we went for maintenance there, that's the place that I talked about, that they never paid me for VAT. And this is fuel levy, it's not development. They are being paid, I don't know whether they are being, I stand corrected, if they were being paid VAT, but they never paid for us when we did it. So the PBC part, I would say, that has really come to help us reduce the constant maintenance has reduced the cost of the road maintenance. I'm emphasizing on PBC because I'm one of them. And it helps on the flooding and when accidents come, we are able to clear the flow of traffic, restore the road and potholes and all that, hence increasing the productivity for Mwananchi. So I'm advocate for PBC, the CEO who are here and the Director General. You're doing a good job on PBC. So thank you.
Thank you. The last question. QS Susan? Yes. And the last one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm happy my sister here has spoken to actually a point I wanted to raise, and that is the protection of subcontractors. How are subcontractors protected? I know that in some countries, especially for government contracts, they have put in place measures where a subcontractor is protected from the prime contractor. If the prime contractor fails to pay, the subcontractor has ways and means of ensuring that they get paid. But here I've experienced many instances where the subcontractor is actually at the mercy of the main contractor. So that is something that at policy level, it needs to be looked into and addressed.
Of us. And Agnes is saying that PWD in the construction sector, are there problems for them? And maybe matters taxation. Agnes, I wish to bring to your attention that yes, we have that aspect of the exemption where the first 150,000 of the income for persons, for the PWDs is exempt from tax every month. And when it comes to the aspect of the LIFATs, maybe we have not taken care of that, but Claire here in Shalom have taken note of your concerns. Now let's go to my colleagues here, and there's that aspect of, are there programs that are unique to the persons, the PWDs in the construction industry? You can pick that. Do we have programs that are unique to the PWDs in the construction sector?
I think so. I think I can comment generally about PWDs. Of course, they are a vulnerable group, and it's good that government has taken that into account, and so they're protected by the Constitution in terms of their rights. So I think in terms of construction, I'm just thinking about, for example, on the site, of course, depending on the nature of the disability, that would really depend a lot on that. So sometimes I think maybe the first step is understanding the nature of the work that is taking place there and the nature of the disability, and coming around with policies to ensure that they are able to perform their work in those particular sites. But of course, I think that it's good to be practical. There may not be, there may be some kind of jobs which may not be amenable for PWDs, and I think it's good for them not to perhaps to have that self-acceptance in that sense. For example, if you have a site problem and your work is about maybe road surveying, I think you can see there'll be a challenge. So I think you also have to align the disability and also with